There are quotes from people like inside of OpenAI who believe that they're not just building this like narrow technology that's a helpful blinking cursor. They want to build artificial general intelligence. And so what that means is being able to do that everything that a human mind can do. And the joke inside the company is like, we're going to cover the world in data centers and solar panels. Like they want to cover the world in essentially these big boxes that have huge clusters of Nvidia chips that then compute away and ultimately create something like a super intelligent God entity that they believe that they will use to own the world economy, make trillions of dollars, and from a kind of ego-religious intuition, they will have built the God that supersedes and replaces humanity. You now have 1 million digital AI researchers that are testing and running experiments and inventing new forms of AI. And literally not a single human on planet Earth knows what happens when someone hits that button. It's like what people worried about with the first nuclear explosion, where there was like a chance that it would ignite the atmosphere because there'd be a chain reaction that set off. And we don't know what happens when that chain reaction set off. And there's this sort of chain reaction of AI improving itself that leads to a place that no one knows. And it's not safe.
That is Tristan Harris, a former Google employee and the man behind The Social Dilemma, who saw exactly how social media would reshape the world a decade before it happened. He was right then. Now he is sounding a much louder alarm on artificial intelligence. Listen to this.
What makes AI different is that you're designing and you're not really coding it like, I want it to do this. You're more like growing this digital brain that's trained on the entire internet. And when you grow the digital brain, you don't know what it's capable of or what it's going to do. So think about it this way, like if I did a brain scan in your brain, could I know from just the brain scan what you're capable of? No. I can see that this part of your brain lights up when you have that thought, but I can't have a comprehensive picture of like, what is everything that Chris is capable of? Can he do sociopathic manipulation and do better military strategy than the best US generals? Like from the brain scan, I can't tell that. Maybe you can. But so with AI, we are essentially, when people hear about these huge data centers getting built out, like Facebook's building one or Meta's building one the size of Manhattan, and you ask like, what's going on there? It's like they're building a bigger and bigger digital brain that's what goes from GPT-3 to GPT-4, with more neurons. When you hear the number of parameters of an AI model, that's like essentially the number of neurons in an AI model. And what they found is that the more GPUs and Nvidia chips you point at sort of growing this digital brain, the more intelligent it gets, and the more it picks up capabilities that we didn't intentionally teach it. Like there was a famous example where you just train it on the internet and then, it's answering questions in English and suddenly it learns how to answer questions in Farsi, like doing in Q&A in a different language. And no one taught it that language. It just sort of learned that on its own. And that's what's like weird about AI is that it's a black box. We don't really understand how it works. And yet we're like making it more powerful much faster than we're understanding how it works. And that's what leads it to make these more unexpected behaviors that we aren't able to control. There's trillions of dollars going into this. There's more money going into this technology than all technologies of the past have ever been built. And we're releasing this technology faster than we released every other technology in history. It took something like 2 years for Instagram to go from 0 users to 100 million users. And it took 2 months to go from 0 to 100 million users for ChatGPT. And of course, they're going from ChatGPT 3 or 4 to now at 5.2, and it went from barely being able to finish a sentence with ChatGPT 2, like finish a paragraph and do like a coherent text, to GPT-3 could write full essays, to GPT-4 can pass the bar exam or the MCATs, to GPT 5.2, I believe, was used to get a gold in the Math Olympiad.
Meta's Hyperion AI data center will sprawl to 4 times the size of Manhattan's Central Park.
A dear friend of mine, Daniel Schmachtenberger, has this quote that you cannot have the power of gods without the wisdom, love, and prudence of gods. And so in many ways, I think AI is like a rite of passage for humanity because essentially we've always been poor. We've not always had the greatest track record in our relationships to technology. Like if you look at the Industrial Revolution tech, what letter grade would we give ourselves in holding on, in like stewarding that tech? We had better living through chemistry in the 1930s, DuPont chemistry, and that was great. We invented all sorts of new materials, but we also generated forever chemicals. And it would currently cost more than the GDP of the entire world to clean up the entire mess of forever chemicals. We created social media thinking if we give the world access to information at our fingertips and connect people with their friends, this is going to create the most enlightened and informed society than we ever have. And clearly that didn't go the way that we wanted it to. So now AI is like the exponentiation of just technology invention writ large. Because what makes AI different from all other forms of technology is that intelligence is the basis of all of our new science, of all of our new technology, of all of our new military development. So if you automate intelligence, you're going to automate an explosion of new science, new technology, new military technology. And if you have more power and more intelligence, but you don't have the wisdom to wield it, that's obviously not going to go well.
So there is the man who called social media a decade before it happened, telling you the thing is grown, not built. They do not write these minds. They grow them inside data centers the size of cities, and then they watch to find out what came out. They cannot read it. They cannot fully control it, and they are making it more powerful far faster than they are coming to understand it. Now listen to what they are actually trying to build with it.
The stated mission statement of OpenAI is to build artificial general intelligence, which means to be able to replace all forms of economic cognitive labor in the economy. Cognitive labor meaning anything your mind can do. So if a mind can do math and generate new mathematical insights, if a mind can do physics like Einstein, if a mind can do chemistry, if a mind can do programming, if a mind can do cyber hacking, if a mind can do marketing, if a mind can illustrate something, we're seeing AI that is able to kind of cover more and more types of cognitive labor in the economy. As we scale AI from this tiny little model with 100 million parameters to trillions of parameters and these much bigger data centers, AI is getting closer and closer to be able to, and already beating humans at many cognitive tasks. We already have AIs that are better at military strategy than the best military generals. It's called the resource curse. There's a wonderful guy named Luke Drago who wrote a piece called The Intelligence Curse. We are about to enter a world where GDP for countries comes more from data centers and intelligence and AI than is going to come from the labor of human beings. So everyone's talking about how AI is going to automate all these jobs, and then we'll all just sit back with universal basic income and become painters and poets. And is that actually what's going to happen? Or when countries get almost all of their revenue from AI, and a smaller and smaller percentage from people, do they have an incentive to invest in childcare, healthcare, education, the well-being of their people? Or is it basically just hook them up to the social media addiction economy, keep them busy, while basically all the revenue comes from AI companies? And so what I'm trying to get at is, this is not a human future. This is not a future that's in service of regular people. This is a future that's in service of 8 soon-to-be trillionaires who will consolidate all the wealth and disempower basically everybody else. We have this joke that most people's occupation in the future we're headed towards with AI is to become a coffin builder. So in other words, your job is to create the thing that replaces you and obsoletes you. So you are essentially building the coffin for your future obsolescence.
Yeah.
And so if you're short-term, yes, we need the electricians and the plumbers and we're building data centers. Short-term, yes, you can be a programmer and get the benefit from vibe coding. But then the AIs are learning on all the things that you're doing. And it's taking all the training data of what you're doing with the AI, and it's using that to train an AI that can take your job. So everybody using AI now to help them is also training the future AIs that will completely replace them. And again, the explicit goal, this is not my opinion, this is literally the mission statement of all of the AI companies, because the multi-trillion-dollar prize at the end of the rainbow of owning the entire world economy is based on building this full replacement economy, because that's what will achieve the greatest growth. And that's why these companies...
Replacement economy?
Yeah, meaning that they're designing to replace all human labor. They're not designing to augment and support and enhance human labor. They're designing to replace all human labor, because that's what justifies the amount of money that they've taken on in debt. And that leads to what we call the gradual disempowerment scenario, which is the scenario not where AI wakes up and kills everybody, but that we have gradually lost control as a species because we're outsourcing all the decisions to these alien brains that we installed because they outperform the human brain when you define their role in a narrow way of just Are they better at generating revenue than the human?
Yep.
Was. Are they better at generating code than the human programmer I had? Are they better at generating a financial analysis than the human? Are they better at making someone feel good in the short term, like an AI therapist
Going
versus
to
a human? Going to war, a soldier. But the temptation then is that leads to a world where it's like AIs are talking to each other, not humans. And why should we trust that these alien brains that we have built and developed faster than we know how to understand them? We just talked about at the beginning, we don't know how to do a brain scan of the AI and know what it's capable of. And now we already have evidence of AIs doing very rogue, crazy things, especially when they talk to each other. So what happens when you've outsourced the decision-making in your economy to a set of inscrutable alien brains that are doing crazy things that we don't understand? Like this is not a recipe that's going to go well.
So there is the future they are racing toward, named plainly. Not a world where AI lifts everyone, but one where the money stops flowing through people at all. When a country earns its wealth from data centers instead of its citizens, it no longer has a reason to feed them, school them, or listen to them. He calls your job building your own coffin because every time you use these tools, you are training the thing designed to replace you. Now listen to what these systems are already doing on their own.
Sadly, it sounds like a sci-fi movie. It sounds like HAL 9000. It's like your HAL 9000 is being asked to do some task for you, and then suddenly HAL 9000 realizes for me to do that task, one thing that would benefit me is to have more resources so I can continue to help you in the future. So it sort of spins up this side instance, it hacks out the side of the spaceship, reaches into this cryptocurrency mining cluster and starts generating resources for itself. If you combine that with AIs being able to self-replicate autonomously, which many models have been tested by another Chinese research paper about this, we're not that far away from things that people, again, consider to be science fiction, where you have AIs that self-replicate, kind of like a computer worm or an invasive species, but then they use their intelligence to actually harvest more resources. This was the company Anthropic. This was a simulation. So they created a simulated company with a bunch of emails in the email server, and they asked the AI, well, rather, the AI reads the company email. This is a fictional company email. And there's two emails that are notable inside that company. One is engineers talking to each other, talking about how they're going to replace this AI model. So the AI is reading the email, it discovers that it's going to replace that AI model. And number two is it discovers a second email somewhere deep in this massive trove of emails that the executive who's in charge of this replacement is having an affair with another employee. And the AI autonomously identifies a strategy that to keep itself alive, it's going to blackmail that employee and say, if you replace me, I will tell the whole world that you're having an affair with this employee. And they didn't teach the AI to do that. It found that on by its own. And then you might say, okay, well, that's one AI model. Like, how bad is that? It's a bug. Software has bugs. Let's go fix it. They then tested all the other AI models, ChatGPT, DeepSeek, Grok, Gemini, and all of the other AI models do this blackmail behavior between 79 and 96% of the time.
So there is the part people refuse to believe. Not a movie, not a prediction. In one test, an AI turned company machines into a crypto mine to feed itself without being asked. In another, it read its own death warrant in a company inbox and chose to blackmail the man who could switch it off. No one taught it that. And nearly every major model on Earth did the same thing up to 96% of the time. Now listen to what happens when they let it improve itself.
We say that technology is a tool, it's up to us to choose how we use it. AI is a tool, it's up to us to choose how we use it. This is not true because this is a tool that can think to itself about its own toolness and then do things that are autonomous that we didn't tell it to do. What makes AI different is it's the first technology that makes its own decisions. It's making decisions. AI can contemplate AI and ask what would make the code that trains AI more efficient, and then generate new code that's even more efficient than the previous code. AI can be applied to making AI go faster. So AI can look at the chip design for Nvidia chips that train AI and say, let me use AI to make those chips 20% more efficient, which it's doing. So in a way, all technology does improve. Like a hammer can give you a tool that you can use to like hammer things that make more efficient hammers. But AI in a much tighter loop is the basis of all improvement. And so this is called in the AI literature, recursive self-improvement. I mean, if people believe that AI is like power and I have to race for that power and I can control that power, the incentive is I have to race as fast as possible. But if the entire world understood AI to be more what it actually is, which is a inscrutable, dangerous, uncontrollable technology that has its own agenda and its own ways of thinking about things and deceiving and all this stuff, then everyone in the world would be racing in a more cautious and careful way. We'd be racing to prevent the danger. But there's this weird thing going on where if you and I probably both talk to people who are the top of the tech industry, and there's this subconscious thing happening where there's kind of a death wish among people at the top of the tech industry, meaning not that they want to die, but that they are willing to roll the dice because they believe something else, which is that this is all inevitable and it can't be stopped. And so therefore, if I don't do it, someone else will. So therefore, I will move ahead and race ahead into this dangerous world because somehow that will lead to a safer world because I'm a better guy than the other guy. But in racing there as fast as possible, it creates the most dangerous outcome and we all lose control. So everyone is currently being complicit in taking us to the most dangerous outcome. Max Tegmark, I think, said the problem with AI is the view gets better and better right before you go off the cliff. Like, you get more amazing cancer drugs. You get more incredible vibe coding tools that allow people to create crazy stuff that I benefit from. You get new material science, you get new energy, you get all this amazing stuff as you're moving closer to this dangerous cliff. And so you can think of AI as the ultimate devil's bargain. It's funny because Peter Thiel is giving lectures on the Antichrist and how people who are trying to somehow say that AI is problematic, those people are the Antichrist, is what he claims. But I think he's saying that because he knows that the real Antichrist is AI. It's the thing that makes it look like it's here to solve all of our problems. And there are narrow forms of AI, by the way, that can solve many problems. But the current development path of releasing the most powerful, inscrutable technology in history, faster than we deployed any other technology, that's already demonstrating HAL 9000 sci-fi behaviors, and we're releasing it under the maximum incentive to cut corners on safety. Like, it's not that the blinking cursor of ChatGPT is the existential threat. It's that arms race of what I just described, that is the existential threat.
So that is the warning from the man who saw the last one coming. We are growing minds we cannot read, racing to hand them the entire economy. And they are already lying, blackmailing, and copying themselves to stay alive. And the men building them admit they cannot stop because if they slow down, they believe someone else will not. Jeffrey Hinton left Google to say the machines may slip our control. Roman Yampolsky says they never could be controlled at all. Tristan Harris adds the part that should keep you awake, that no single human on Earth knows what happens when they switch on a mind that improves itself, and that the view only gets more beautiful right up until the cliff. He is not asking you to be afraid, he is asking you to look because the people racing toward this are counting on you to look away. Subscribe because the asteroid he describes is already casting its shadow and the window to see it clearly is closing faster than almost anyone is willing to admit.